that the Aztecs have not conquered yet. As you can tell, we've disguised ourselves to look like the Aztecs, so we can spy on them and learn their rituals and cultures.
Today we're at the Aztec market. Every day, about 60,000 people will come here.
A variety of goods could be bought, sold, and traded at the Aztec market. The Aztec diet was mostly vegetarian. The main crop of the Aztecs was corn, or also known as maize. They would ground up the corn and use it in tortillas.
Along with corn, the Aztecs would eat a variety of chilies, tomatoes, and red peppers. Tortillas was the main food of the Aztec diet, and it was important for women to learn how to make them. Along with that, they would eat beans. The Aztecs made burritos with tortillas, beans, and cheese. In war, they'd begin with drumming and loud war cries. They used spears, arrows, and shields. War was a way to show superiority. The Aztecs used captives in sacrificial ceremonies.
Aztec society was extremely structured and organized along class lines. The highest class was the ruler, his family, and other nobles. Tradesmen were in the middle class, peasants were in the lower class, and the lowest class was made up of slaves and commoners. Slaves were captives of war, criminals, or people owing money to someone. Royalty made up 1% of population, nobles also made up 1%, warriors made up 18%, and commoners and slaves made up 80%.
In Aztec life, there were two schools. One school was the Kamacac, and the other was Telpocali. In the Kamacac, boys were taught to be rulers and high priests, and in Telpocali, students were taught skills for war and how to participate in religious ceremonies. Also, the girls were taught to do housework by their mothers.
Women giving birth in Aztec society were as honored as warriors because they were delivering the next generation of warriors and mothers. Pregnant women received advice from an elderly woman called a midwife. The midwife named the child and took care for the woman during labor and after birth. If the mother died giving birth, she was honored like a fallen warrior.
For an Aztec boy to get married, the parents of the groom would ask his teachers if they could symbolically cut him away from school. The Aztecs arranged marriages and royal weddings helped form alliances. On the day of the wedding, the bride was carried on the back of the oldest and strongest female relative to the ceremony. During the ceremony, the bride and groom tied their clothes together to symbolize unity. Aztec women, especially from the eastern side of the empire, were known for their weaving skills. Good weavers were blessed by the goddess of youth, flowers, and love. Women were trained from an early age and were given a distaff at birth. A distaff is a tool used to spin thread. Thread spun from agave fiber was for the lower classes, and cotton thread was for the higher classes.
National dress for Aztec men was a maxilotl or loincloth. It wrapped around the waist and between his legs. Warriors were also given special uniforms. Women bathed frequently, used dye to make their skin yellow, and dyed their teeth red or black to show signs of beauty. The national dress for women was a cuetl, a long dress tied around the waist. The women also wore huipiles, simple white blouses, and for special occasions they wore colorful clothing.
Laws in the Aztec Empire were based upon religious belief. Because most people were living good lives to please the gods, crime was not a big problem. When someone did commit a crime, it was considered fate. Groups of elders or courts were used to settle arguments. There were no jails, only cages where people waited to be put to death.
You committed a crime. Get in the cage.
You are to be put to death tomorrow.
In sacrifices, they believed that human blood was needed for the sun to rise each morning. To be sacrificed was an honor to the Aztecs. After sacrifice, the Aztecs would cannibalize the victim. They'd take out the heart and hold it up to the gods. Then they'd chop off the head and roll it down the steps of the temple.
Oh! 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 Hey! Oh! Ha! Oh, la, 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 la. Oh, la. Ha, ha, la, la, la.
The Aztecs valued a life of hard work and didn't have much free time. In their free time, they enjoyed music, ball games, and board games. Aztecs made music with flutes, drums, and their voices. Oyama Liz-T was a ball game that looked like a combination of today's soccer and basketball, and was the main entertainment for people. They also played board games that are like today's backgammon.
Stop.
Today we left our